everybody, this is Chloe Hudson with World Peace Projects. Thank you for joining me. I'm so happy to be here with you today, and I wanted to address the very intriguing topic of timelines. So many of us have been feeling the timeline shifting, and even if you haven't been feeling the shifts, maybe you've been receiving information about timelines and processing what this means. For those of you who are not completely clear on what I'm talking about, as we're moving out of the illusion of time, so many of us are experiencing how truly time is a figment of our creation. Hence, like I've said before, we can change the time, or time feels like it moves so slow when you're doing something you don't like, or it moves so fast when you're having fun. This shows us in little ways how we can manipulate time. So when we make choices in our life, in one way to look at it is the path that is being created before you via your choices and your karmic decisions and your manifestations or your unconscious movement through this life. Any way you're navigating in your own specific way, you are creating timelines before you. And so it's just one way of saying, what's playing out now and what's to come in the future. Now, we obviously have past timelines, because as I speak of a timeline, any possible or plausible decision, opportunity, event playing out, way you might navigate can create one or a slew of timelines that you would experience in any now moment. So there, at many moments in your life, are a few to several timelines ahead of you that are most likely that you will play out, depending on what type of energy you're putting out and manifesting, whether that be unconscious or conscious. When we come to a pivotal point in our life where we register that we are at a crossroads, and that a specific choice that we're thinking about making or have to make or want to make will take us either this direction or that direction. That is a perfect example of how you can watch timelines coming into alignment, parallel realities, if you will, and you have the conscious decision as a creator of your reality to choose which path you're going to go. So for many people right now, the timeline experience is becoming very palpable. For me, I've been witnessing certain moments in my life where I realize that I have a very conscious decision or response to make here, and if I react as I have done in the past, I might go down a timeline that I don't really desire to be on, though because I reacted through impulse or emotion or ego, it catapulted me onto a timeline that is not really aligned with my highest desire. So if I slow down at this juncture and I register that I have the opportunity right now to be very conscious and make a choice and move down this timeline. And that in one way is me really being in my power seat of commanding my life. And so in that moment, my experience is kind of like I'm literally standing here looking at these different timelines, the choices, which way do I want to go? And then registering when my timeline involves another person or other people in my life, knowing that they have their own free will, seeing where their timelines are headed. They might have a timeline that's in conjunction with mine, and if we opt to move together, this is where I will be standing next to them in this timeline, though they have their own free will, so they might shift into another timeline. And even though I would have preferred to move through this timeline with them, they're allowed to do what they want because that's their free will. Now, one thing that has been happening a lot and will continue for the next 2 months as Venus retrograde is playing out is that we are all being brought to a place to reflect and really process and understand everything that we love. And whether this be our work, events in our life, our choices, people, our housing, whatever it might be, love is the theme. And Venus is appearing to go backwards in the sky now. So everybody is taking a new frame of mind and heart in regard to the things that we love. And timelines will be shifting very rapidly back and forth at this time, because when people make decisions in Venus retrograde, they often second guess or change their mind again or change their heart. So this is also a very interesting experiential time to witness the shifting of timelines. Now, of course, when we talk about things that we love, it becomes very personal to us. So it can be a bit more trying to stay observant and detached as you're moving through these very intense real life experiences and decisions that are very near and dear to your heart. But if you can, and you're also registering that there's things coming up for you, that you're looking at who you are and how you want to be and who you want to be with and how you want to work in this world and what experiences you want to have, and you're kind of vacillating on 2 to 3 maybe different choices, and maybe you start down a certain path, you choose a timeline, and then you realize in a couple weeks, you know what? I'm not sure that this is the choice that I actually wanted to make. And then you shift your timeline. So take these next 2 months, if you're interested in watching the experience of timeline shifts. And if you change your mind, or somebody in your life changes their mind around you or involving you, try to witness the timeline shift and the frequency shifts. You'll feel it, an actual frequential shift in energy, and in a way, in an experience. Sometimes I feel like I'm standing at this bridge. We've seen this in sci-fi movies. I can't really put my finger on which one I'm thinking of, but I'm standing here and there's a gaping hole in between me on this bridge and what's in front of me. And as I'm navigating and choosing my timeline and I step forward, the bridge is created right under my feet only as soon as I step. And maybe I double take and I say, wait a minute, that timeline might not be what I want. And I shift, and so the whole bridge goes, and I shift and I move forward into another timeline. That's kind of how I'm experiencing it. And it's very interesting because it's showing me more than I've ever realized that we choose our reality in all now moments. While as a grander soul, we have a general template of things we want to experience and people we want to engage with in our life. As a human with free will, you're constantly shifting and manipulating and commanding your timeline. So it's really up to you in every moment. And if you're still moving through old illusionary patterns and reacting emotionally and just living in a way that you haven't owned your sovereign independence because you're still just flying off the handle emotionally because your inner children are crying out inside of you, then you might start to witness that you continue to catapult yourself onto timelines that you don't really desire. But if you stop and get real present and realize that your reactions are creating your reality and you're moving down timelines that don't serve your highest good. And then people are reacting to your reactions or making very calculated, emotionally aligned choices, watching and observing your reactions. Same with the universe. So take a moment and step into your creator seat, your power now moment, and realize it's completely up to you to choose your timeline and align with that. And if there's things or experiences or emotions or people in your life that you desire to be differently, and because they all have free will, and there's also a structure of mass consciousness that's playing out, that's crumbling now, but it's playing out, so you can't necessarily change everything that you want in any given moment, you can walk in alignment with that timeline. You can watch the timeline that you truly desire, the new earth timeline, and just walk parallel to it and hop over into it. It's called quantum jumping. So this is another way of manifestation. When you're visualizing, you literally astral project into that timeline and experience it as now moment. You absorb the frequency, you own it, and you bring it back to this physical body with you, and you land and ground that frequency into you, in like as if you're taking a shovel and you're scooping up this frequency and you're putting that frequency into the physical body. That's one way to draw that timeline into your reality very potently. You literally astrally project to the timeline that you desire to experience, and you be in it, you experience it. You imagine going and talking to the you that's in that timeline, and you get really into their energy, and you ask them questions about their life and how's this going and what's that, and you really absorb that frequency signature, because that's what it's all about. We utilize our emotions to embody the frequency signature, because that's how humans work. But if you can even bypass the emotional experience of it and simply absorb the frequency 100%, you'd be in that timeline lickety split. Anyhow, so get in alignment with the timeline that you really want. If it's something that it's not playing out 100% in your physical reality right now, you can create that more and more in alignment with this timeline by being very aware and very connected to that desired timeline and moving in alignment with it. And soon enough, it will merge. Because as much as you own that frequency, the law of the universe will give it to you. Maybe New Earth needs to wave in and things need to change on a mass scale all around us, but as most of us can see, that's happening pretty quickly. So anyway, I hope this wasn't a rant, and I hope that made sense. I just think it's very important for us to own our timelines at this point and realize how quickly they're shifting, and how in a split second you can shift yourself in and out of a timeline inadvertently in a way that maybe you didn't want because of your response to a certain situation. So take care with your now moments and choices you make and the way you feel and what you express to those around you, and tune in really clearly to your higher heart, because everybody right now is making new choices and decisions and clarifying with themselves what they truly love. And that all can change in a split second, especially when so many of us are finally surrendering our mental process and moving into our heart. In a flash, we can suddenly become aware of what's for our highest good, and it can look radically different from the life you're currently experiencing. Thank you guys. I hope you have a great day. Bye-bye.